Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
What is today, and why is it so important that we literally drink ourselves into an early grave?
Well, I think it's the second day of a very long, anxiety-inducing election week.
Uh-huh. And what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, not exactly that, because that's just a little too much to handle right now.
Yeah.
But we do want to talk today about the walk-away movement.
Yeah.
And we're not quite sure if everyone has heard of it, but we want to go into some depth about it, which we will do right after this.
This is Joey.
And this is Joshua.
And this is Drunken Discourse.
What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor early in the morning?
So, Joey, what do you know about the walk-away movement?
What I've looked up and the things that I've watched on it is essentially people, for a huge amount of reasons, people that are just fed up with the left. It seems like a majority of the reasons that I've looked into don't seem all that valid. Like they're just kind of like, it sounds like you may have drank the Kool-Aid a little bit there, guy.
Yeah, so to give a little bit more context, people who are part of the walk-away movement were people that were on the left.
Yeah.
And decided to leave the left and primarily go to the right.
Right.
So they left one party to join another, and it was formed by Brandon Straka, I think is his name. I think it's how you pronounce the last name. And he didn't encourage people to leave the left to go to the right. However, that is what he did after, I think he did in 2018, a couple years after Hillary lost to Trump. And he, left the left and went to the right and started making big social media campaigns, and it kind of went viral from there.
Yeah.
Not viral to where everyone would have heard about it, but just enough to really kind of get into people who were on the left that still felt unheard.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know much about the guy. But I do know like a lot of the people that I've like the sort of like quick interviews I've seen with people that are walking away from the left. Some of it I can agree with, like or at least understand, because political correctness has gotten a little out of hand with certain things, and I can understand how people can look at it like I'm walking away from the left because I grew up.
Fair.
And because it really is like, at one point there were people like not cogently, but like adamantly defending like otherkins and stuff like that. That's the party you should take seriously.
That was a thing for a while.
That was a thing for a good while, and it's like, well.
So what's the primary things you've seen in like these online? There's tons of online video testimonies on YouTube, blogs of people that have walked away.
Well, a lot of it seems scripted almost. Like
it feels like that.
It feels like almost there are people that have something to gain by admitting on camera that they're walking away from the left.
Right.
And it's kind of it's a little pundit-y.
The main testimonies that I looked into were Blexit, which is the black exit from the left.
Yeah. And
I don't know if they have a cute term for the gay exit from the left. I don't think so. But I've looked a lot into those testimonies. The founder, actually, Brandon, is gay. And his big argument that he leads with is that he felt, I'm not going to say objectified, that's not the right term, maybe belittled or pandered to on the left. And he felt as though what was being dealt to him as a gay man is that he would never succeed because everyone will always be bringing him down, or he's not capable of succeeding. That's the testament that he delivers, that the left tells people.
Like, you need us.
Right, yeah. The testament of walkaway is that the left tells people of color, gay people, Jews, any other kind of minority, that you won't succeed.
Unless you have our endorsement.
Right. And that I can definitely understand as a reason to walk away. I, however, have not exactly felt that from the left. I have plenty of problems with the left.
Yeah.
But, of course, my problems with the left are a little Jewish specific.
Yeah.
But I won't get too much into that right now.
That's another episode.
Yeah.
That's a whole episode.
Yeah.
And I guess what I can contribute on that is there is a very kind of like churchy quality to the left that does almost seem like fundamentalist Christianity. To where it's like this is how I look at it. This is why I say I don't agree with political correctness, because political correctness is basically the policing of speech, where you have, say, a racist person, like let's say you have a like dyed-in-the-wool white nationalist, and then you tell him that he cannot say white nationalist stuff. Stuff. He thinks the same way, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, we're trying to prevent the propagation of hate speech," and I'm like, as opposed to what? Like, he's going to go do hate stuff.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if he's a real white nationalist and is a real threat to like the body politic, he's just going to go out and beat the living crap out of somebody.
Yeah.
Timothy McVeigh wasn't really all that famous. He wasn't famous before he blew up a bank.
One thing I do, I won't say enjoy, but one thing I can oddly appreciate about having Trump as our president is that it's brought the racists and the Nazis out into the open.
Yes,
and
it
has
has
exposed them.
Because I like my Nazis in uniform.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, it has also emboldened them, unfortunately.
That is the bad side. That is the side effect, yeah.
If America ever thought it was genuinely getting much better, they should now know that that's never the case.
Yeah, it's like racism never healed.
Yeah.
Like the wound never even started healing. See, and that's kind of like the inherent stupidity of what happens when you sensationalize human decency.
Yeah.
Like when you're just kind of like, oh yeah, it's like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, or you go back even farther than that, talk about Marcus Garvey or any of these guys, and they did these wonderful things. None of them really had a good end.
Yeah.
They were either assassinated, imprisoned, or just utterly exiled.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing. It's just like that's evidence right there that like post civil rights movement, all it did was obviously it won a lot of victories for people, but it also made black people more of a target.
Yeah.
And
it's just more strategic of a target.
Yeah, like white supremacy I would say white supremacy became its most militant. Like its most, these people are people you need to avoid. These are dangerous people. It's not just, oh, these people are ignorant. It goes, no, these guys will blow your house up. It was at its most militant, I think, in the late 70s.
One thing I have heard a lot of walkaway people talk about in their testimonies is that they were lied to and were told that Trump is the one who made our country super divided. But now they see the light, and it was actually under Obama that we became such a divided nation.
Yeah, I can't agree with that either.
Now, I will say that did start some division, so my explanation is not because Obama started division. I think it was inherently because it brought a lot of hate out in people to see a black man as president.
The division's always been there.
Yeah, it brought it out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't Obama's fault, because how could that be? So, like, it came about more so in that time. Yeah. Because they had more, I guess, a reason to be loud about their hatred. Mm-hmm. And then Trump comes right along, grabs their vote, emboldens them, and gets just everyone up in arms about that.
Well, it's like the birther movement. It's like everybody was, and Trump was literally leading the charge on the birther movement, where it was like, we want to see his birth certificate.
Oh, yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. And it's like, then he did.
Yeah.
Then he did. And then instead of, look, he was like, here it is. And then here comes Alex Jones. And here comes all these people going, it's a fake. And all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, it wasn't a fake. It was just Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's like, it was so awkward watching that even as a kid. I was like, but it's right there. And that's the thing, is that the right moved the goalpost. Mm-hmm. And they really politically kind of invented that. And it's like they will say, well, this needs to be done, or this is wrong, or this is right. And then that happens, and then they move the goalpost.
Yeah.
And they say, well, no, this needs to happen.
Yeah.
And see, the problem is that the left has started doing that too.
Yep.
and with everything.
Yeah.
And it's like the kind of disingenuous side is that the left look at the right like they're a bunch of Nazis, and the right look at the left like they're a bunch of commies. But in the middle, you have Americans who don't think that way about each other.
Yeah.
It's like I know people from all different political beliefs, all different walks of life, and these are people. These are normal people. So it's like the walk away movement, I think, really may have sort of got its spark with this guy Brandon. I think because he saw, and I don't agree with what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I think he saw that the left are being hypocrites and that they are saying, well, the right are corrupt, the right are responsible for this. Yes, they are, and so are you.
Yeah.
You're playing a dirty, dirty game.
Yeah.
And you don't get to, it's like you don't get to play football in the mud and then criticize the other team for having a dirty uniform.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way this is, man. So it really is, and that's where you end up with a lot of like the far left guys that see the left as the hypocrites that they are.
Yeah.
And instead of walking back into the arms of the enemy, they go, okay, well, I'm just going to have more independent beliefs. Some of them end up being communists. Some of them are just more far left than the rest of us.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is. You don't have to pick a side.
Right, and that's the main thing that upsets me. Is like I have no problem if someone walks away from the Democratic Party. I'm not affiliated with the Democratic Party either, even though I am left. But why walk from one group that you think is a cult to another that is most definitely, obviously has every sign of being a cult, being the right and Trumpism?
Well, because of cult members. I mean, it's because, I'm not trying to be a jerk saying this, but I think of a lot of the people, I could probably say all of them, is that, like, the reason they're walking away from the left is because they want a new mommy and daddy.
Right. It's this just...
They want a new group to think for them.
Yeah. It's this instinctual human tribalism that hardly anyone seems to be able to escape from. And I'm not saying that I'm some enlightened individual because I don't affiliate with a party. I do recognize that sometimes I have to fight my thoughts from aligning with someone that, it's just similar to me, so I'm just kind of latching on. Like, you do have to fight that urge.
Yeah.
But there's no purpose of leaving someone just to go to someone else. You're not ever going to be a free thinker, and the main thing they want to say in these videos is that now they're a free thinker. Now they're woke or awake. I guess they don't use the term woke. I don't know.
I don't use the term woke because it's a dumb thing to say.
Yeah.
It's like, again, I mean, that does bring me back talking about woke. I mean, it's the sensational, like, you're sensationalizing human decency.
Yeah.
It's like, it shouldn't be a trend. It should be a personal habit.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, like I said with political correctness, it's like, you can't say, well, I don't use racial slurs because it's, you can't just say, I don't use that because it's divisive. Like, no, you shouldn't use them because they're wrong.
Yeah.
Because you're putting yourself in a position where you are putting barbs all over yourself. You are preventing others from knowing you.
Yeah.
And in turn, you will not know them.
Yeah.
And so you have to look at why. Political correctness doesn't want to give you the whys. They just give you just because. It's like, like you either do this or we're going to get you banned from Twitter.
Yeah.
Cancel culture, in my opinion, is fascism.
Yeah.
It really is.
Like, they're, expose, like, do the fact-checking thing that they're doing, but straight up canceling or maybe even shadow banning, it's just, what's the point? What you do is you wind up emboldening them, and they're usually, like, these weird conspiracy guys anyway.
Yeah.
You just strengthen their argument.
Yeah.
Let them fall on their face.
Yeah, like, you don't have to sit there and go, oh, he made a comment that may be construed as... Dude, who cares? Who cares? Eventually, they're going to screw up. They're going to say some dumb racist shit. And then that's going to be it.
Yeah. And
then, boom, bam, it's out. You don't have to sit there and go, oh, well, we won't allow that kind of divisive speech on our platform. And it's like, why? They're going to say it in real life to real people, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, let that dude get identified. Let that dude screw up.
Yeah.
And the big conspiracy, the big preaching point that they use is that, oh, well, he's propagating maybe a call to violence or something like that. I'm like, dude, armed white nationalists probably don't spend that much time on Twitter. They're gearing up for a race war.
Yeah.
They're too busy training with actual military tactics from retired soldiers and learning how to take an AR-15 apart blindfolded.
Yeah, I don't think someone on Twitter is someone who recruited them.
Yeah, I think they probably ran into people from their very small town.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, man, are you tired of this too? Yeah, brother. And then they end up at a training camp.
Now, I do also want to say I get definitely the purpose behind these tech companies trying to mitigate the damage that's coming with it. Because there are repercussions, obviously.
Because you want to distance yourself from
not
certain
just,
ideas.
Not just that, but you do want to have some kind of responsibility. It is their house. It's happening.
Yeah, I mean, really, yeah.
And they don't have to say that the Constitution is the law of Twitter or YouTube because, well, it's their house. It's like if I went over to your house and started saying really horrible things about, potatoes, and, you might want to kick me out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's like, God knows I have a religious dedication to those spuds. But I think it's, with things like Tumblr, I don't know I've never had a Tumblr. Actually, no, I think I had one for like 11 minutes. And then I was on there, and then I was just kind of like, wow, this is a hellhole. I'm out of here.
Well, all of those users want going to Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. That's the new Tumblr. But, we wonder how we end up with things like 4chan.
Yeah.
Because it's
a response.
It's a response.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to, is these people are alive. You can't cancel them out of existence.
And now they're just in an echo chamber on these other sites.
Yeah.
Because you don't want them over here, where the majority is liberal. Let them hear your voices. Don't just shut them off and cast them out of society, because they're never gonna grow. And that's what you want. You don't want these hateful people to stay these hateful and potentially violent people.
Exactly.
It's gonna backfire. It's not a good strategy.
I mean, it's like it really is a matter of time. And I hate to say it this way, but it really is a matter of time before you have enough frustration with the left to where it literally is going to be like they're going to lose. It's like, we're losing video gamers, or we're losing this demographic. Like, no, dude, you're going to lose young people.
Yeah.
At this point, because you have to understand that for a lot of us, like I'm only 32. Well, excuse me, 31. Lost my mind. I'm only 31. And the thing is, I've never liked authoritarian ideals.
Yeah.
I've always been an idealist, but I don't like an idea where it's kind of like, because this is pure Joseph Goebbels. If you don't believe this, you're this. That's fascism.
Yeah.
That's like right out of Mein Kampf. I don't care what party or what idea you think you're supporting. You cannot box people in, very complicated, confused at times people, and say, well, you're just a Nazi, or you're just a brainwashed liberal kook. It's like, people are complicated, man. And I feel like the left are starting to join the right in that kind of closed-mindedness.
Right.
And we can't afford to let that happen, man. I mean, it really has come down to Biden or Trump.
Yeah.
Which is a huge, huge example of how we've been playing the game way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long.
Yeah. I do want to ask, have you ever heard of another movement like Walkaway, but in the opposite direction?
Well, no, I'm not a movement, but I've seen
some individuals.
Yeah, I've seen countless interviews with ex-neo-Nazis who literally just said, wow, I believe almost exclusively nonsense. Like, I believe garbage. And then they just... Or the Westboro Baptist Church girl.
Yeah.
That she literally got out of Westboro Baptist Church because of Twitter. Yeah. Because of her interactions with people on Twitter showing her that, wow, not all people are awful.
And there's a perfect example of how you don't shut out people who aren't like you from social media. Because you can change someone.
Right. She went looking for it. Yeah. And it ended up changing her. And that is an extreme case because that is a deeply fundamentalist, isolationist community, I mean Westboro,
Yeah.
they do not have outsiders in their community at all.
Yeah.
And they all live near each other. Like they all live like together almost. Like they, all their homes are like right next to each other. And I really believe that the left has those kind of pockets where it's one of the reasons why I don't agree necessarily with safe spaces.
Yeah.
Because echo chambers are not good.
No.
They're not good. Echo chambers breed intellectual cowardice.
Right. Yeah.
And if you want to be able to trade body blows with someone as strong as the right in America, because American right-wingers are another breed. They are hardcore. And especially the politicians.
Yeah.
I mean, because they will cling to anything that gives them some monicum of power.
Yeah.
They don't care. It's a game to them.
Yeah.
And the left used to be the idealist underdog
Yeah.
that said, no, we believe in this. And now with Hillary Clinton and all of these different things that have come out that are true, I mean, they really are, it's really like, wow, these people are just as corrupt as the right. They don't believe in this.
Yeah.
We are on our own.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of that's the breeding ground for the left, like walking away. Because they're like, wow, it's like, granted, we don't need over-representation like these people are trying to do. Like, Malcolm X said, I mean, he said this in a speech he was giving. He said, typically white liberals will use you like a political football.
Yeah.
And that's the deal. It's like, that really did come to fruition.
Yeah.
And we have to that's the thing, you have to be sincere.
Yeah.
If you don't want hate to be propagated, like Trump has done.
Yeah.
I mean, he relishes in hate.
Yeah.
If you don't want that to go out and be widespread, you have to be sincere. Because even your average, like, dumb Trump supporter, they can sense when they're being lied to. They can, like any other human being, they can sense that insincere kind of snake oil mentality.
I don't know about that. They're a Trump
Well,
supporter.
no. But they go where, I know this is like a weird term, but they go where the food is. Like they're going with Trump, who promises power. So they got brainwashed, sure.
Yeah.
But they're already suspicious of the left, that they're communists and they want to take all our money and take it, all this stuff.
Yeah.
They want to give our borders away and all these kind of things. So they're going to be looking at you extra close.
Yeah.
For any possible sign of being insincere.
Yeah.
And they're going to find it. And so that's what I'm saying is like you're already dealing with people that need you to be the enemy.
Yeah.
Don't lie to them. Don't try to feed them that stuff, man.
Why do you think there's not a big movement and hashtag for people leaving the right and coming over to the left?
Because they don't need it. Because the right already they've always felt emboldened and empowered. And Trump was able to mobilize this really intense, very, like I said, very Goebbels kind of victim complex with white working class people. And that you're being forgotten, you're falling through the cracks, I am the way, I will represent you.
I guess what I'm meaning to actually say is like for the people who are leaving, not people that are jumping on a bandwagon to leave, but for the people that are leaving, why is there not this big, thing on social media, perpetuating this grand enlightening experience for these people?
Oh, you're talking about like this exodus?
Yeah, like what walkaway is. From
I think honestly, because I think a lot of them are sincere. And they don't need the pageantry that comes with social media.
So do you think some of these people making these YouTube videos of walk away are insincere?
Some of them. It seems that way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is, there's a lot of posturing and the way they answer questions and the way they hold themselves. And I don't know. I think it's a lot bigger than we think it is.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
Because, the left, with political correctness, all these things, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
They frustrate the living piss out of me because I'm like, look, man, I don't use these kind of words. I don't talk about people like they're animals. I do believe that if you're a transgendered person, that you are what you are. Like if you're a transgendered woman, you're a woman.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, I'm going to call you miss or ma'am, or like if I know you, I'm going to be like, hey, love, or sweetheart, or whatever like that. I'm going to be like, that's the way it is because I feel compelled to, not because, oh, it would be weird if I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't care what makes you uncomfortable. I've never cared about making anybody comfortable.
Yeah.
I like offending people. I like making people step outside their comfort zone because comfort zones aren't good for you.
Yeah.
They're really not.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why it's like, if you throw a rock, it hits somebody that's got crippling anxiety.
Yeah.
Like to where it's like mental health issues have become a fashion statement.
Yeah.
And it's like, but a lot of it is real. It is. You do run into people that literally have anxiety attacks ordering a pizza.
Oh yeah, I know. But these people who latch on to these titles because it's fashionable, they kind of dwindle the importance to.
They absolutely do. They completely invalidate. What's real. But the thing is, it's like the reason there's so many people out there that literally cannot function during the day, it's because they cling to their comfort zones.
Yeah.
They've been inoculated with comfort.
Yeah.
And they won't go out and have these kind of conversations or debates. They won't confront their friends because they don't have any friends that are Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Because they've been told, oh, well, if you actually hang out with these people or if you have a girlfriend or boyfriend that's a Trump supporter, you're not an ally.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely something that's going to push people away. Especially,
that's psychotic behavior.
The people who will tell people on the left, you need to disown your family members who voted for Trump. It's like... Yeah, but life's not that simple. It's great that it is for you, but some people like their family and love their family regardless, like unconditionally.
It's like, if you believe that, I'm not leaving you alone with my kids.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
That is psychotic behavior.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, oh, I can literally just throw away an interpersonal relationship because their political viewpoint is skewed from mine. Like, okay, first of all, you already have failed the test of saving the world.
Yeah.
You've already failed the hero test.
Yeah.
Because you interacting with that person and loving that person every day is you being at battle.
Yeah.
That is you fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what are you doing? Like, really look at what. Okay, we have voting, which happens once every 4 years.
Yeah.
And then you have Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Then the rest of it is just your daily life.
Yeah.
How you carry yourself.
Yeah.
People saying, well, if you've got a Trump supporter in your life, you need to get rid of them because if you hang out with them, you're not an ally. I'm like, fascism.
Yeah, it's like, what's that going to solve?
Nothing.
Whose opponent's mind are you going to change by never talking to them?
People that believe that there's going to be a post-election civil war need medication.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I'm a history snob, right? I mean, if there's a war anywhere in history, I know something about it. Here's the thing that I don't think people understand how a civil war works. There has to be a partition for a civil war to happen. There has to be a very linear divide within a country for a civil war to even begin. So you have Alabama, and then you have, let's say they now have a states' rights grievance with Georgia. That's over in 5 minutes because they both agree on the exact same things politically.
Yeah.
Both red states. And then not far from that, you have blue states mixed in with red states, mixed in with blue states. And I'm like, dude, if there was another American Civil War based on politics and based on policy, you could literally fight that war blindfolded.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally like, who am I going to shoot today?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you don't know. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's like, what do you think? Do you think that right-wing militias are going to go out wearing their MAGA hats?
Yeah, and it's not just states even. It's cities. Like,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're in Alabama, but right now in Birmingham, very blue.
Very, very blue.
Compared to most of the rest of the state, very red.
You go to Oxford, and it's like red.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, okay, so it's the great 256 area code
versus 205
siege. It's the great siege of I-20. You know, like, That's all. I mean, it's like, and that's not going to happen. I mean, there's a myriad amount. There's a huge amount of reasons why there's not going to be a civil war.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but have you looked at our generation? Have you really looked at our generation? Wasn't it like just 5 years ago that it seemed like everyone you knew was anti-gun? Like everybody.
Yeah.
I've never been anti-gun.
Yeah.
I've never believed that like AR-15s contribute to shootings. Yeah. I don't think they're necessary in our country. If they did away with them, I'd be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But it seems like everybody we know. But now all of a sudden, because it's the edgy thing to be, it's, the far enough left you go, eventually you get your guns back. And I'm like, have you ever held a gun? Like, I'm sorry, bud, but really?
Yeah.
You want a war with the right. Wow. That's going to last a month.
Yeah.
Because here is the principle. And we are talking about political exodus, so I think this is relevant.
Okay.
Here's the principle of what would happen in a civil war between the left and the right in America. They're going to shut off our water. Because what we're talking about, if you go to war with the right, you go to war with America. At least right now. You're going to war with if you go to war with the right, you're going to war with the United States government.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
They're going to shut off our water. They're going to shut off our electricity. They're going to shut off our Wi-Fi. Our phones will be useless bricks in our pocket.
Yeah.
And then's the time to where it's kind of like, okay, these are battlefield conditions where you now must form a militia, which involves organization and communication, and must be done completely without ego.
Yeah.
And it requires a complete dedication to a set of ideals that are so palpable that you would literally be willing to pick up a rifle and kill a person for them.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
The left doesn't know how to do that.
No, they don't.
We're extremely divided. And I do like the diversity.
I do too.
But that would also mean that, we would fail if we had to.
We would fail miserably.
Yeah.
Leftists would be killing leftists inside of a week.
Yeah.
And if they actually could bring themselves to kill, because I really do think that it is a very video game-minded idea to say that we need a violent uprising. Come on, comrades.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, here's what you need to do. Unplug your PlayStation and read a book.
Yeah.
Because one book that I would recommend that I heard Henry Rollins recommend is called The Fiery Trial. And I forget the name of the author. But I went and looked into some notes from that book, and I'm definitely going to buy it. It really already's got me hooked, and I don't even own it yet. It talks about how Abraham Lincoln became who he was, like how he began to be anti-slavery and realize that these are people. These aren't commodities, they're people. Brilliant book, filled with actual liberal sensibilities. There is no, if you don't believe this, you might as well be Timothy McVeigh.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like you can tell Twitter didn't exist back in those days because people actually, thought and stuff.
Yeah.
Really, really cool book, and I really want to get into reading it. But yeah, a civil war is not going to happen, and it seems like, and this is what's strange, that seems to be like the leaning post that a lot of people are going to like almost comfort themselves.
Yeah.
Like that's a comforting notion. I'm like, dude, get on Google or get on YouTube and just type in these words, sectarian conflict, and then just watch the videos. Ireland.
Yeah.
Brutal. The Congo. Yemen. All these different places that have had sectarian conflict. Syria.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And it would be that here way worse because we're the most armed country in the world.
Yeah.
There are more guns in this country than there are people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, dude, what do you think's going to happen? What are you going to do? Exterminate an entire city?
Yeah.
That's what it would take. Guerrilla warfare is ugly.
Yeah.
It is so ugly. Because it doesn't have all the pomp and circumstance of like the marching armies and all that kind of stuff that kind of romanticizes war in a really disgusting way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, go read All Quiet on the Western Front. You live in mud for months. And, dude, we're in the South.
Yeah.
It's a muddy place, bro.
Yeah.
yeah, like we are outnumbered by poison oak, like straight up. If you try to fight a civil war down here, just the conditions would drive you back into like, okay, I'm just going to vote. It's horrible down here. Like, could you imagine fighting a civil war in August in Alabama?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, we're
like,
going to
you know
take a
what
break.
He's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just draft up some documents that are just basic civil rights, and I'm going to petition them, and I'm going to march. And it's like, that's the kind of stupid thing that like far leftists really jump into. And some people that are just liberals that want to sound tough,
Yeah.
which is so cute.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I will say this, right-wingers, as much as I cannot stand their politics, they know how to be tough. They know how to intimidate.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the deal, is we've got to get away from this trying to be more like the right.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah.
And they preach that. Like in mainstream media, we need to be tougher. We need to be smarter.
Yeah.
We need to be smarter. Here's the first step. Stop giving the blue-haired Berkeley chick the megaphone.
Yeah, don't give it to college students.
Yeah,
There's
because
a reason why they always lose in arguments.
because they haven't graduated.
Yeah, their brains aren't fully developed.
They're in college, and most of them have never had a job before. They have no experience with the things that they gripe about.
Most of them.
Most of them. You know, it's like, yeah, if you're a person of color, you right out of the gate experience racism. But
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're white. You have a different hair color every other day. You're not presenting yourself. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I mean, I'm all about people being counterculture.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm about as punk rock as it gets, dude. But I also believe that when you're talking to Congress or you're trying to petition something, it's important to make the whole situation about the issues, not your appearance, not your, oh, look how flamboyant I am, look how rebellious I am. No one cares.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. He said, politicians are actually very indifferent to rock and roll. They're very indifferent. They don't care.
Yeah.
So all your little rebellious things that you think those little daggers you think you're throwing at throwing at the man or whatever, they don't even know you're there.
Yeah.
It's small things to a giant.
Yeah.
So we have to be smarter.
Yeah.
We have to be smarter. I really do think we have game fatigue.
Yeah.
We played the game for so long, and now we're running out of ideas.
Yeah.
So now it's like, yeah, let's give it to the college kids. Like, yeah, that was effective.
And I don't really mean we, but people on the left, they talk a big game about empathy. However,
Yeah.
they have no patience at all to show
None.
empathy for anyone that's slightly different than them. And the left is very factionalist. And just no empathy across the board. Like,
Yeah.
you are literally all of my ideals or you're my enemy.
Yeah, it's like the gatekeeping has gotten completely out of control. It's a purity test 24/7.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that's why I almost do not I hang out with either like completely like moderate liberals or like people like us. Like people that are just kind of like, I'm on the left.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of afloat in the harbor of the left. I don't really know where I am.
Yeah.
I know I love people. And I know I want the working man to get their fair share. And I want our government to be more transparent.
Yeah.
And I think the only way that you can do that is if you have transparency with each other.
Yeah.
We've got to stop this dick flexing pageantry that we have to where everybody's trying to seem so edgy and have all these aha moments and be so much more puffed up than everyone. It's gotten us nowhere.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the world is going, we get it, you're American. Like, I mean, even to the left, they're like, wow, you are really just a bit too much, aren't you? And you know, and I've looked at what other people from other countries, like people from say Australia, or which has a bad problem with white supremacy, or you have countries like even Russia, and the people have been asked, like, what do you think about like the geopolitical like platform of America? And they're like, those people are freaking nuts. They don't say Republicans, they don't say liberals, they say Americans are out of their minds.
Yep.
And it's because we are completely off it, bro. And that's the deal. And it's almost like we like it.
Yeah.
It's like we need that conflict. It's like it got boring to have peace
We confuse drama with happiness.
Yeah, we confuse we confuse drama with revolution.
Yeah.
And it's like revolution literally comes from the mind. It is something that you must dwell on. And like there's this really amazing YouTuber that I'm a big fan of named Vosh.
Yeah.
And he's very far left. He's very intense dude, very smart, great guy. He has like a really nice dude. And I have watched that guy rip people to shreds in arguments, in debates.
Yeah.
Like because he has a chat going and people can just literally, it's almost like you can just call in. Like he'll invite you to like call in, and I have watched
to try to argue with him,
to like
or?
debate, and like
Okay.
because he'll bring up a subject, and then someone will take the bait, which is what it is, and then he uses them like an intellectual toothpick.
Yeah.
He's just like, bink! Like it is horrifying actually to watch him work.
So it's similar to like Ben Shapiro, I guess, on the right.
He would I put it like this: Ben Shapiro avoids him.
Oh, okay.
He would slay Ben Shapiro where he stood. And
and
then he'd shake his hand afterwards. Like, I mean, seriously, he's a man's man, I think.
So is he like Ben Shapiro, the kind of bully? Like, I'm just gonna.
I've never seen him bully anybody. Actually, it's more of like through the lens of humor, like something that would be more like it's like the characteristic of kind of very thick armor, and his humor kind of shows that. Is that he won't sit there and jump on an aha moment. He'll just ask questions.
Yeah.
And he lets you walk into it.
Yeah, lets you fall on your face.
He lets you fall on your face. He gives you just enough rope to hang yourself with.
Yeah.
and that's the deal is, and he also, obviously, I agree with a lot of the things. I don't agree with everything he says, but I think me and him definitely agree about workers' rights, workers' co-ops, people being more conscientious of one another. Like, think about what it's like to be the other guy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, really think about that.
Yeah.
And, like racism going on right now, like something that the left, I feel like, doesn't really go into enough because they don't go into the facts of things anymore. And a lot of these are common sense. I think that's why a lot of people are walking away is because it's like, it is becoming a dumb party.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like, it is, I mean, I'm not trying to be, like, quote Ben Shapiro, but it is becoming the party of feelings, not facts.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It really is. And it takes all the people on the left that aren't affiliated with the party to bring the facts.
Yeah.
The people that are completely unendorsed.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But the fact that, the civil rights movement just happened in the 60s, people that were responsible for lynchings, people that were responsible for horrible, horrible acts of hate and bigotry are still alive
Yeah.
and voting.
Yeah.
So, of course, racism is still alive. They are.
Yeah.
And the thing is, okay, so Martin Luther King gave a speech, and now nobody's racist.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude wasn't Jesus, is
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yeah. He couldn't fix everyone's problems.
Yeah, and obviously couldn't fix his own because he got assassinated.
Yeah.
And see, that's the deal. It's like he was murdered.
Yeah, so that obviously he wasn't able to cure America.
What milestone happened in the civil rights movement that eliminated racism?
Yeah.
It didn't even marginally disrupt it. It just made people more aware of it.
Yeah.
That's all it did.
Yeah.
And it won some legal battles for black people,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But dude, that's not even like, dude, you haven't even started picking up the rocks to throw at the giant yet. You're not even in the fight yet.
Yeah.
And
people want to complain about, I know we're getting a little off topic, but want to complain about the protests going on now. It's like, oh, we fixed that back in the 60s. Why are we still protesting? It's like, you're an idiot.
I was like, dude, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Ideals don't have a shelf life.
Yeah.
It's like the deal is, it's like one of the best quotes is like, ideals are peaceful, but history is violent.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it goes. How you doing there, buddy?
I thought I'm just being nervous.
Oh, okay.
Oh, by the election.
By the election? Yeah.
I do think we might need to wrap up.
Yeah. But all I can say is about the walk away movement is that I get it. The left is just damn frustrating. But here's the thing, it's not going to get any better with the right. They're just as frustrating because you're going to see that cult behavior and they're going to scare you too.
Yeah.
So I feel like we might have a displaced like group of people that are going to have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And then they're going to end up sitting in this room with us.
Yeah. So, yes. The last thing I'd like to say, if you're going to walk away, just fine. Don't walk away to someone else just because you don't think you have another place to go. You don't have to go anywhere.
Just remember.
You can walk away and just be you.
Just remember, when you're looking at the right, just say, "You're not my real dad."
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We rambled a bit.
Oh yeah, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do. But in any event, this has been Joey.
This has been Joshua.
And this is Drunken Discourse.
What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? What do you do with a drunken sailor? Lie in the morn.